Okay, so we're going to continue again with proportions, but this time it's going to be in a word problem. And there's always a good way to find out if the question that you're reading, your word problem, is dealing with proportions. Now, this doesn't work for all questions that are proportions, but it does work for most of them. And what I'm talking about is if you have a word problem and you have 1, 2, 3 numbers, and if 2 of those 3 numbers are talking about the same thing. For example, the 2, that's going to stand for pounds of nails. So that's what this one stands for, pounds of nails. Let's color code that so that way we won't avoid any confusion. And over here, 14, of course, is talking about birdhouses. Same thing with 56, birdhouses. So, like I said, if you have 3 numbers, 1, 2, 3, and if 2 of those numbers are talking about the same thing, like 14 and 56, then it's probably going to be a proportion problem. And that's what this is, a proportion problem. So now that we know it's a proportion problem, now we're going to set up our proportion. So right here you have 2 pounds. I'm going to put 2 right there, but don't just put 2. You need to let me know what 2 stands for. So I'm going to put right here pounds or nails. Let's put nails. And over here at the bottom, you got birdhouses. So I'm going to put right here 14. I'm going to put right here birdhouses. And over here we got 56. So what you want to do is make sure that the 2 is with 14. So that means they should be on top of each other. And if you wanted to, you can also do it this way. Oops. But usually you put your first number that came out on top and the second number that was mentioned at the bottom at the denominator. So I'm going to do it the regular way. But like I said, if you do this, it's still correct. The only way it can be incorrect is if you place it over here. Because, remember, these 2 numbers are related to each other. Not by relatives or anything, but if you have 2 pounds, that makes 14 birdhouses. So they got to belong together within the same fraction. Now 56, where does 56 go? Well, 56 was talking about birdhouses. So that's going to go wherever you have birdhouses, whether it's in the numerator or denominator from the other fraction. In other words, from the top number or the bottom number. Well, it's going to be placed at the bottom because the other number, the other denominator, is also talking about birdhouses. So you got to make sure that when you're setting up your proportion, if you're talking about birdhouses over here in the denominator, it's got to be the same thing for the other denominator. And we got this empty space. So that is what we're looking for. But we're not going to put a question mark there. We don't do that in math. When we don't know something in math, usually we label it with the letter X. That's what I'm going to do here. If you wanted to, you could have also used any letter you want, like N, which would make sense since you're talking about nails. But I'm going to go with X. So now I'm ready to set up. Well, now it's already set up. Now I'm ready to solve my proportion. So remember, when you're setting up your proportion, that's incorrect. You got to make sure that your proportion, your BAT, only has numbers. There we go. That's the correct way. And you're going to multiply whatever's inside there. The other number is your ball, which you're going to divide by. All right, so now I'm ready to solve this. So let's multiply first. 56 times 2. 56 times 2, so let's do that. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. 112. Then what happens next is I'm going to get 112 and divide it by the ball. How many times does 4 go into 11? Goes into it twice. You're left with 3. Bring down your 2. How many times is 4 going to 32? 8. 4 times 8 gives me 32. And there is my answer, 28 pounds.